This is my theory of knowledge presentation, and the knowledge issue we have is, can Hitler be justified in condemning Jews to their death in the Second World War? Now, the first person we're going to look at is the main perpetrator, Hitler himself. Now, in the main camp, I've quoted, "The personification of the devil as the symbol of all evil assumes the living shape of the Jew." Now, instantly we're drawn to the Jew being pictured as demonic, devilish, which to many people is horrific. We don't brand other humans as demonic. Secondly, I've come up with another quotation from the Reichstag, April 26, 1942. Hitler then went on to say, "What then is left is the animal in a man and a Jewish clique." So he was saying that the Jews were animals. Group of Jewish animals, which I wouldn't like to be branded as an animal. I'm not Jewish, but would you brand your mother or father as an animal? Other people would argue that Hitler was a utilitarian, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Now, roughly 11 million people died during the Holocaust. These were Jews, as well as innocent German civilians for hiding the Jews, for example, there. And as opposed to the rest of the world's population, a smaller number of people died. But is it the greatest number of good? The greatest good for the greatest number of people here? Another point I like to raise is that Hitler set universal rules to suit him. Now, if I set universal rules to suit me, I'd have many people disagreeing. But the fact that Hitler set universal rules to suit him so that he could go out and commit mass murder is horrendous. If somebody did that today, there'd be huge consequences, and I'll come on to that later on. The first philosopher that I've included in this presentation is René Descartes. The quote he stood by was that humans are superior to animals. As you can see on the second bullet point there, I've put that René Descartes could have been a potential supporter of Hitler, as Hitler referred to the Jews as animals. Whether or not they would have shared that same idea there, I don't know. But the point I'm raising here is that he could have been a potential supporter of Hitler. The second philosopher I've included in this PowerPoint is John Stuart Mill. The first quote he included, that I found from this file, is that he believed in absolute equality. Now, having said that, if Hitler stood by absolute equality, he wouldn't harm the Jews. The second point on that slide there is the harm principle. The effect that if you can do absolutely anything you want, provided it doesn't harm anybody else. Now, the picture I've included on the bottom left there shows it's an example of equality there, the fact that we're all the same. And on the right is a picture of John Stuart Mill. Another aspect I've included in this Tok presentation is cultural relativism. Now, as you can see on the bottom picture there, it says each culture possesses its own particular traditions, values, and ideals. So, having said that, once again, Hitler had created this culture with the rules to suit him, and basically he discriminated against the Jews, and so the Holocaust became the result of this ordeal. This slide features my view. Instantly, I believe it's incorrect. I mean, with having been brought up with modern law around me, I know that there's terrible consequences, and so the law acts as a deterrent. My human emotion also acts as a deterrent, because the sheer fear of having gone out there and killed somebody, I mean, that burdens with you for the rest of your life. I don't think I would be able to cope with that. The next bullet point I've included is an example I wanted to include. It's Gaddafi forces contrasted to British forces. Now, this is a depiction of cultural differences. The forces I'm relating to is the army. So you've got Gaddafi's army as opposed to the British army. Now, recently on the news, we saw that Colonel Gaddafi sent his army out, and they were ordered to annihilate or kill, however you want to describe it, all of the protesters that stood in the way of Gaddafi and the ultimatum. British forces, however, when trained, are instructed that killing should be a last resort. Disarmament and negotiation, they're things that come first to reduce the number of deaths. So that just shows you, even though we're in this modern society, that there's still cultural differences and beliefs. And I've also included on the bottom of this slide the sheer difference between Hitler's emotion as opposed to everybody else's. Now, Hitler as a person had this ultimate belief. He had this definite belief and this definite idea that Jews would stop him from his ultimatum, hence the Holocaust. Hitler didn't really take on board anybody else's beliefs. He stood by his own and wanted to abolish these Jews, hence the Holocaust. So Hitler went round all of Germany, rounding up his troops, came up with, well, indestructible army for several months, and he went on his rampage, annihilating all of the Jews. So you can just see that Hitler's emotion, he was so definite, he was such an independent character, that he didn't really need anybody else's emotion, anybody else's beliefs. He was all set. He didn't want anybody else's reasoning. He had his own, and that was that Jews were demonic, they was animalistic, and so they were Hitler's reasons for going out and committing the Holocaust. Now, here I've weighed up a balance. On the left-hand column, we've got men for the death of Jews. Hitler top left-hand corner, Rene Descartes bottom left. And on the right-hand column, we've got John Stuart Mill, and there I am, bottom right, for against the death of the Jews. Now, obviously, it's all men on there. I mean, women, I suppose, share the same views. I can't be sexist here, but these were the prime examples that I've chosen to include. Now, the conclusion I've drawn up is that as society developed to this day, much of the British society had taken on board the teleological theory. Now, this is based upon consequences. It's the theory that you can go out, do whatever you want, absolutely anything, but you've got to look at the consequences. And lastly, the last bullet point I've included on there is the true set of rules. Is there a true set of rules? Now, this is a question I've been looking at for a while now, and no, I don't believe there is. All you've got to do is look at the law to realise that there isn't. Over several centuries, the law has been moderated and altered. An example I'm going to include now is the death penalty. Now, in British society, the death penalty is being abolished. We're not allowed to kill anybody. Whereas if you go to America, in specific states, may I emphasise there, the death penalty is permitted. Now, I believe, yeah, the death penalty should be permitted in certain circumstances. However, it just shows you how different societies are when contrasted with each other. I mean, if you do look at America, for example, they've got different beliefs across the states. So you've got different beliefs within a culture there, a society. So no, in the end, I don't believe there's a true set of rules. Another question you can ask, will there ever be a true set of rules? No, I don't believe there will. As society changes, people change, different beliefs change, and I think as the years go by, the law and the rules, they're just gonna keep changing. So no, I don't think there's ever going to be a true set of rules. that was my talk presentation on can Hitler be justified in the death of condemning Jews to their death in the Second World War. Thank you very much.